Hello, this is front wheel brake repair or replacement job. It's a Mitsubishi Pajero 3.2 liter, but this is kind of a generic type of brake job. It's first time I do it on the front brakes. I don't think I've done it before, and for me it's something new. And I removed a couple of bolts to make it easier for me to record the video for those new into car repairs or do it yourself like I am, and hopefully it's going to save some money to some people. If one person, at least one person, is saving a few $100s, I'm happy. My time is not wasted here. So what I did, I removed the wheel, the large wheel. I took it out. I put the lugs on the side somewhere in a safe place, and then the next step was to use some brake cleaner to remove some of the asbestos dust from the area. Spray the caliper, the surfaces in here. So I did a kind of a pre-clean job. Then I had to take the caliper out. So to do that, I had to remove these two bolts. One bolt is here, one is on the other side. And it seems that they are not equal in length. So this is the top one, that's the bottom one. I would have to use some brake silicone lubricant. It's high temperature lubricant. When I put those bolts back in and grease other contact surfaces, I might show you in this video. And before I remove this caliper system, I had to secure the assembly with a piece of wire. I don't want that heavy caliper, which is about 1 kilo, to hang on my brake line and stress it. And so I pulled that one out. And you don't really have to take the rotor out. You could inspect it by looking on both surfaces like that and turning the wheel. You can turn it by hand, but in my case I wanted to inspect the area behind this rotor. So for that, and also to make my pad assembly easier and to be able to clean this area, I had to take this part out. So for that, I had to remove the two bolts that are holding it. So there are two bolts. So again, I removed those bolts previously, and previously, before recording this video, I cleaned this part, and you can see these tabs are shiny because I used a steel brush. So once I cleaned those little sliding tabs, I don't know how you call those, I'm going to use this type of lubricant to lubricate this area, because that's the area where the pads are going to slide back and forth, right? So I will lubricate the end of the pads. I will lubricate the contact points with the pistons here. And since today I have my caliper compression tool, I've used it. So instead of using this type of bracket, you can use in any type of metal surface. Depends of the tool you use, but for this cheap one I had to use something. Usually I use the old brake pad as a surface against the piston, and I tightened it, and that way I pushed these two pistons. So you notice that the front caliper is double, because you need to apply more pressure, you need more braking action for this heavy side of the vehicle where the engine is located. So I pressed both pistons in, and you make sure you don't pinch, you don't damage this rubber. Okay, so you make sure when it's sitting back, it's all nicely aligned like accordion type, so it's all folded nicely. And you can use some special chemical to protect, some sort of a rubber protectant. I use 303 aerospace protectant for rubber surface, but don't take my advice because some chemicals might damage the rubber. And while I'm here, I'm going to take the rotor out. I inspected both sides of the rotors, both braking surfaces, and inspecting and cleaning this area. And you can turn this one by hand, and you can inspect the CV shaft, the boots, make sure everything is intact, nothing is leaky. So if you see leaky boots anywhere, you make sure you go to a mechanic or buy a set and replace it by yourself. For emergency you can insert some grease, but that's for another video maybe. In the past, a couple of months ago, I replaced this arm. It's a control arm, and it seems that it got dirty pretty quick. It was nice and clean, but now after, like I said, less than a year, looks very like worn out. So once I'm done with inspection, my job is to put things back together. And don't forget about these clips. You can see the pad that was installed against the caliper pistons. You see the marks from the pistons. It has this tab, so you could take a couple of pictures before you take things apart. It makes your life easier when you put stuff back. Or look in the manual, look into the car manual. But again, you have to use on each wheel you have to use one of these tabs. Okay, so just copy your disassembly procedure and don't forget to put this thing back on the new pad. Okay, and again, lubricate all mating surfaces. It's going to help you to prevent the squealing noises, but also it helps as a heat transfer compound, because these pads are getting pretty hot and this plate is going to take some of the heat, but it has to dissipate the heat somewhere, and usually this brake lubricant has a chemical in it that is helping with thermal transfer. So the heat is going to be dissipated to this big metal surface, like a iron cast metal that can take some of that heat. And of course some of the heat goes into the rotor itself. You see the vents here. So I'm not going to enter and describe how the braking system works, but you get the point. So you have to kind of do a proper job that will last you at least 2 years, I hope. Okay, so I thank you for having the patience to watch this video, and I hope this one will save you some money and give you the satisfaction of doing the job by yourself and doing it right, so you know what you're doing. Take care, bye-bye.